So this is the second day. So this is a little bit similar to what we just did. Okay, make sure you're not working on your homework from what I just gave you, but you're focusing with me now, okay? So what we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of review what PEMDAS is, okay? What PEMDAS is. So first, the P. Let's talk about what P stands for, which is parentheses. Okay, so you're going to write parentheses. Okay? Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see that better. There you go. Okay, the E stands for what? Exponent.
Exponent.
Okay, remember what an exponent is? The little number. Yes. Okay, it's that little bitty number. The M stands for?
Multiply.
Multiply. And the D stands for? Divide. A is?
Add.
Add.
S is subtract.
S is subtract. Okay. So, first, though, before we move on, this multiply and divide, do you guys remember which way you have to go? Can you just pick and start wherever multiplying and dividing?
In between.
No, you have to work the problem like you're reading a book. Left to right. The same thing with adding and subtracting. You work it like you're reading a book. Left
to right.
to right. Okay? You can't just start wherever in the problem. You got to start like you're reading. Okay? All right, the blank says, blank, when you multiply a single term by two or more terms inside of parentheses. Okay, it's really confusing, but I'm gonna talk about it more in just a second when we do an example. This is called the distributive property. Okay, have y'all heard of distributive property before? Anybody? Okay, so distributive property means when you have something like this, okay, you've got parentheses and a number outside touching the parentheses. All right, remember how we talked about this used to be how you write multiplication problems? Then it turned into this. Now it's this, right? Okay, so all of these mean multiply. So when I have this distribution property, something like this, what does this 7 mean? This means multiply. It has the parentheses. Now, look at the directions. Look at the directions. What's the direction say? Simplify. Okay. Over here in the room, I've got this umbrella. It's hard for you to see because this is in the way. Got this umbrella. Umbrella is the simplify umbrella. Okay? Then you've got the two things that fall under the umbrella. You've got combining like terms, which is what you just learned, okay? Which is what you just did right before this.
Yep.
And then you've got distribute. Okay? So those are the two things that you're going to do every time you're simplifying. So if you see the word simplify, you got to distribute first, because that comes first. And then we're going to combine our like terms. All right? So you see parentheses. You know parentheses mean? Multiply. Okay, good. So I got to start with multiplying before I can add and subtract. Just like your PEMDAS. First, you got to start with multiplying. Then you add and you subtract. Okay? So we're starting with the multiplying. I'm going to multiply. What's touching the parentheses? -7. Okay? Remember that sign in front of it goes with it. So I want you to circle that -7. And I'm going to multiply this -7 to everything inside the parentheses. And every time you do this, I want you to draw these arrows just like I do, okay? You're going to take this -7 and you're going to multiply it first to the 2 end.
Which is -14.
Which is -14, okay? So in your calculator, let's say you don't know how to do that. That's okay. So I would do -7 times 14, or so, -7 times 2, which gives me -14, okay? Now, Is this just negative 14?
Yeah.
No.
N.
It's got an N. So I got to have negative 14 N. Okay? Am I done?
No.
No. Now I got to take this negative 7 and multiply it to the next term.
Which is
Remember,
one.
terms are separated by plus or minus signs.
Yeah.
So there, I did the first term. Now I got to go to the second term. So negative 7 times 1 is, so negative 7 times 1 gives me negative 7. And I wrote that right behind it. Now, have I done anything with this 5?
No.
No. I'm going to just bring it down. First, all I did was I was getting rid of the parentheses. Have I gotten rid of the parentheses? Yes. So the point of multiplying this negative 7 is to get rid of the parentheses. I cannot combine my like terms. I cannot simplify until these parentheses are gone. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, when I multiplied, that's what happened. I got rid of the parentheses. Now, can this be my final answer?
No.
No. Why?
There's two variables without a numerator.
There's two like terms here, right? I've got a 5, and its like term is
Negative 7.
negative 7. They both do not have a letter, so they are like terms. So in my calculator, I am combining them. And when I combine, I'm going to add. So it's going to be 5 plus negative 7, which gives me negative 2. And then I've got my negative 14n. Does that have a like term?
No, it does
Nope.
not.
So I'm just going to bring it down.
Okay, I can smell. It's simple.
Okay? Any questions? Yes.
Will there always be two numbers within parentheses? Or
Not always. If you remember on our notes earlier, it just had one number on the inside of the parentheses.
okay.
So, do you remember that? Okay. It could be, you could have 7 different numbers in here. You could have one number. It just depends on how the problem looks. Okay? If you had 7, then you would draw 7 arrows. 7 different numbers or terms. Okay? Okay, this one. What do I have to do first before I can simplify? I got to get rid of my parentheses before I can do anything, okay? Because just like PEMDAS, we got to start with our parentheses, right? So, looking at my parentheses, how do I get rid of them? Well, I need to multiply the number that's touching the parentheses. Is 11 touching the parentheses?
No, it's not.
No, okay? There's a minus sign in between the 11 and the parentheses. So they're not touching. They're not being multiplied. They're being subtracted. So if there's not a number touching it, I'm going to say that's a 1. Okay? Now, what am I going to multiply?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Am I going to multiply a positive 1? No, I got to take that symbol with it. So negative 1 times a 5. Negative 1 times 5 is
Negative 5x.
negative 5. And it has to have an x. And then I take that negative 1. And I'm going to do what? Multiply it to the positive 4. So now I've got negative 1 times 4, which gives me negative 4. Is that it? Have I used all the numbers?
Yeah. For multiplying.
Yes, for multiplying. I've distributed, right? Am I finished with the problem?
Yeah.
No. I still have this 11 out here and I got to bring it down. That's a very common mistake. People forget about that number out there. Okay? Don't forget about that number. Make sure you look over the problem before you just move on. All right. Do I have any like terms?
Yeah.
Yes, I've got an 11, and its like term is 4. They don't have a variable, so they're the same. And I'm going to combine them. And when I combine, I'm going to Add. So 11 plus negative 4 gives me 7. Does it need to have an x with it?
No.
Nope. 11 and 4 don't have an x, so 7 doesn't need to have an x.
Alright.
Does negative 5x have a like term? Nope. Bring it down. Okay. Questions on the first two?
No.
Are we good?
Really, yeah.
Okay. Number 3. What's different about this one?
There's 2 of those parentheses.
Good. There's 2 sets of parentheses, right? So how many times am I going to distribute?
Twice.
Twice. Good. So I'm going to distribute twice. I'm going to only be looking at this part first. Okay, and what am I going to multiply?
5.
The negative 5. That's where I'm going to start. All right, and I'm going to say negative 5 times 3y. So then I go to my calculator, and I'm going to do, oops, I'll do it like this. Negative 5 times 3 gives me negative 15, and it's got to have a y. So I'm still on the same problem. I only did the first term. Now I got to multiply to the second term. So negative 5 times just 7? Negative 7. Good. Negative 5 times negative 7.
Equals positive 35.
Positive 35. You guys got it. Good. Okay. Am I done with this first set of parentheses?
Yes.
Yes. Now I'm looking at this part. Right?
Yep.
How do I get rid of this? The 1. Good. I got to put a 1 out there. Okay? Is it a positive 1?
So it's
No.
a negative.
No, I'm going to distribute a negative 1. So negative 1 times 6 is? And I'm going to write it right behind that 35. Minus 6. Okay? Still in the same problem, so I'm going to keep the line going. And then I take that negative 1 to multiply it to negative 4. Which gives me
4.
positive 4. Just positive 4?
Why?
Y. That's a very common mistake, is forgetting that variable on there. Okay, like terms. Start with your first term, which is negative 15y. Does this have a like term?
Yes.
Remember, like terms are same letters. Which one is it?
4y.
Positive 4y. And I'm combining like terms, so I'm going to add them. Which gives me? Negative 11 y. Good. Okay, then I go to my next term, 35. Does it have a like term?
Yes.
And I'm going to circle it, and I'm going to circle it with negative 6. And I'm combining like terms, so this is going to be adding. 35 plus negative 6 is positive 29. Questions. Ask me questions. Am I going too fast? I want to give you time so you can work on your homework, okay? So if you have questions, make sure you're asking them as I'm moving on, okay? Are we good?
Wait, we don't have no practice quiz.
Okay, here we go.
Say yes.
Fourth problem. All right, how many sets of parentheses do I have?
2.
2. How many times am I going to distribute?
2.
2. Twice, okay?
So,
Here we go. I'm going to just start with the first set of parentheses. What am I going to distribute?
3 times 4.
3. Good. So 3 times 4 gives me,
12.
if I don't know, that is perfectly okay. If I don't know, 3 times 4 gives me 12x. Don't forget that variable.
2 times 3.
Then I take this 3 and I do times negative 2. So 3 times negative 2.
Negative 6.
Does it need a variable? No.
No.
Okay. Now, make sure you multiply both numbers. Okay, so take the 3, multiply the 4, then take the 3 and multiply again. Okay, anytime you're distributing, you're always multiplying. Now, -2. I'm going to distribute a -2. So -2 times 2.
Negative 4x.
Good. And I'm going to continue the line, -4x.
-6.
And then -2 times 3 is?
-6.
Good. -6. What do I do about this 5?
Bring it down.
With the sign. Bring it with the sign. -5. Good job, y'all. Great job. You guys are getting it. Okay? Questions so far? Am I finished?
No.
No. You guys are so smart. Okay. Start here. My first term is 12x. What's its like term? -4x. And I'm combining them, so what operation? Add. 12 plus -4 gives me 8. A positive 8. And it's got to have a what? X. Good. Please stop singing. Okay. Then I've got... Please stop singing. Please don't say that. Okay. Now I've got -6. Does it have a like term?
Yes.
Yes, which is?
-6 and -5.
And, yes, good. How many like terms do I have?
3.
3. What operation am I going to do between each of these numbers? Add. So in my calculator, I'm going to do -6 plus -6 plus -5. Everybody see how I did that?
Yes.
Which is going to give me -17. Does it need a letter?
No.
Nope. That's my answer. Okay, notice how I boxed my answers. Okay, so on your homework you need to box. All right, let me stop this real quick.